Huge show coming up, Matty. What are the headlines?
DJ's a 36er, but he's not happy with the Kings, and it's time, Shane, for the NBL to get serious on concussion.
Well, and we're speaking to Jordan Crawford, the second smallest player of all time. He's tearing up the league. And I got Derek Rucker on as well. And we'll speak all things NBA, especially Chris Paul. Can it work? Let's get into it.
This is The Basketball Show with Shane the Hammer Hill. What they gonna say next?
Well, here's the footage that no one wanted you to see. And it finally came out, and thank goodness it did, because if you just listened to senior basketball advisor from the Brisbane Bullets, Stu Lash, you would think something totally different happened. These are the facts, and I am unbelievably surprised that the NBL only gave a little slap on the wrist to a member of the Brisbane Bullets, because there was no doubt that him contacting ESPN and making those comments, he was trying to change the narrative and the thoughts of the public before it went to the tribunal. It should not happen. Credit to Adam Ford. He was a professional all the way along. He had to hold his tongue when he knew that the allegations against him were incorrect. He went to the tribunal. He came out scot-free. What would happen in the NRL if somebody, a general manager, did that in that sport?
Oh, Shane, it'd be massive news. It'd be back page news for days, and fair to say that there'd be a significant sanction and fine and time on the sidelines, because you just can't impact the judiciary like that. So the tribunal in the NBL's case, it's, crazy stuff.
Unprofessional, and thank goodness that footage came out and everybody got an opportunity to be able to make up their own opinion, and we got the right result at the tribunal. All thanks to our good friends at throwbackstore.com.au. Get yourself some NBA gear or a pair of kicks. All right, let's start this thing off. The worried Wildcats. Surely we're not worried already about Perth.
Well, everyone's worried, Shane.
Really?
Some losses on the weekend. They're 8th on the ladder, the Wildcats, which is their lowest place since Bryce Cotton joined the club in 2017. And Bryce, interestingly, is shooting 36% from the field. He's never shot less than 40 in his NBL career. But are we really worried, Shane? I'm worried about their defence, I'll say that much.
Two teams that are on fire, the Kings and United, top two. I like them both right now.
Oh, the Kings have been sensational, and a real highlight for mine has been Jonah Bolden. After almost 4 years out of the game, I didn't think he would be this good this quickly. And I think that's fantastic to see. Again, their depth is there. Like they just blew Perth off the
Hunter,
and Jordan Hunter,
Valentine.
You know. And the best bench in the NBL still. I still think I have them still above Melbourne United, even with GLA back.
Well, Hogue coming back as well, that's going to add to them. He's a quality player.
He'll be back next week.
But I tell you, they're two different styles. The Sydney Kings want to put points on the board. They just get up and down with their depth. They're a pleasure to watch. But United, they're a great defensive team, so can't wait till those teams play.
There is a great stat about United. Apparently, their defensive rating is the best in the league, and based on last season's defensive ratings in the NBA, it would be the best in the NBA.
Now, I want to talk about Austin Reaves. I got this on. Mate, Austin Reaves, what do you think of him first? You watch him play?
I think he's a great player. I watched him play at the World Cup firsthand, and he was terrific. I think he's a key part of what the Lakers will do.
He was the best player for Team USA.
Yeah,
no doubt.
By far.
His intelligence and his ability to be able to play off the dribble but make the right shot. He shot at high percentage. He was a pleasure to watch. I really enjoyed it. It was like a lot of the other NBA guys didn't understand how to fit in when they didn't have the same defensive rules and there wasn't the same space. He just had a great feel for the game. I can't wait to watch him play in the NBA this year. He's going to be huge for LA. All right, the NBA and NBL games. Oh my! We brought it up last week. A 60-point loss. That can't be good for the league.
I went hard in my column this week, and I did say that the timing's not perfect. You've got teams going over there not at full strength, and they're getting beaten by the margins that we're seeing. You've also got teams back home and big name clubs like United and etc. who don't want to play, Shane. Last year with Adelaide, they got the great massive win against the Phoenix Suns, the first ever, but then they come back and tank and there's dramas. I like the concept. I agree with John Casey. I think there's positives. But geez, is there a way we can tweak this? I think so, and I think there needs to be some thought into that, because at the moment it's only doing damage in some ways.
With all the goodwill that we talk about and the exposure, there's also the flip side. You go and lose by 60, that's exposure on the world stage that you're 60 points off a team. So I think there's pros and cons for sure. WNBA, 2-1 for Vegas. I wish Nate was here this week because he was all about them being able to get the win, New York. But it looks like it might go to Vegas. A couple of our girls, Jocelyn Willoughby over there with New York and Kayla George with Vegas. They'll sort of come back a little bit after the WNBL.
Well, that's the story, the headline now, Shane, is that they'll have to wait and they'll have to accommodate that. So there's clubs in the WNBL like Sydney, etc., who will, hanging around, will have to make alternate moves until they get back. Not ideal, but I suppose it is what it is. That's the reality.
It's women's basketball. They play all year round. DJ is in Adelaide, but it wasn't all smooth sailing.
No, the Kings put out a very strong statement yesterday expressing their disappointment in the inequality of the contract system. So DJ left he last season, said, I want to go try my hand in the NBA. He got that out, but it was under the proviso that he would only play internationally. It wouldn't be in the NBL. He's since changed his mind. He's decided, well, I want to come back. And Adelaide were interested, so he's decided to sign with Adelaide. The Kings are not happy with that because it's changed the terms of the original agreement. And they believe that's not fair. But DJ, my understanding is he's not happy either with the Kings, and he will be lifting his side to the story in the papers here at News Corp. So it'd be interesting to see what he says. It's
not all smooth sailing for AJ Johnson down at the Hawks either.
No, he's averaging 5 minutes. He's played 3 games, not getting any minutes, and he projected draft pick for next year. And my understanding is his manager's calling anyone who cares to listen. He's not happy. He believes that he needs more game time. He's had some injuries, but at the same time, the Hawks are standing their ground on his position within the team. It'd be interesting to get your thoughts, Shane.
Sometimes it's hard. I mean, Jacob Jackomas, he's under pressure to win games. If he's pulling his weight in practice, he will want to play him because he wants to win more games. So obviously he's not getting that done. He's a young player. Sometimes it takes more time for him to be able to get in. So the agent's doing his job by pestering everybody to try and put pressure on everybody to play more minutes. But he's got to get it done at practice, right? And the last one, this is a huge one, mate. Matty Knight is talking about concussions. Now, I watched a few shows about this with the NRL and the AFL guys and the problems that concussion have caused ex-sportsmen. And growing up in that time where, mate, we were just taught to shake it off. You would have a massive hit and you'd have massive headaches for days, but you just shake it off.
Yeah, so Matty Knight, for everyone at home, is 3-time championship winner with Perth, played with the Razorbacks back in the day. He had 15 concussions throughout his 10-year career, and we see here quite serious stuff. And in those days, there were no protocols. So at the moment, the NBL have got a minimum of 6 days, depending on how it goes. He wants a mandatory 12 days like the AFL, and he said he's still suffering headaches. He gets a bit of dizziness, and he's genuinely fearful of the future, potentially, of memory loss. Matty likes to think that the brain has to come first and people's welfare has to come first. He wants Dellavedova, who we see here on the weekend. He wants him to take his time, and I'm sure they will. Melbourne United with Shea Ely have had problems, and Melbourne United have been tremendous. They've been very thorough in their processes. He sent me a message today and said, I actually want to meet with the NBL. I want to have conversations with specialists. I'm really passionate and proactive about this, and it's just terrific to hear a former player, Shane, speak up like that. We've got to go straight to the NBA. Obviously, pre-season's about to wrap up. The real games start soon. And the Golden State Warriors. Will Chris Paul be a liability or an asset?
Woo, this is a tough one because I've never been a lover of CP3. But yet, Hammer, as someone who played a very long time without winning a championship here, I empathize with him. I want him to get a title with the Golden State Warriors, and I think he's going to be a great fit. He doesn't have to play a whole bunch of minutes. The Warriors are a smart organization. They'll understand, Hammer. All they need him for is the playoff run and into the finals.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think there has to be some adjustments, not just from him, but also for the team. I think he's going to have to adjust and be able to learn to play off the ball a little bit more. They move the ball so much more movement of player and the ball, whereas in the past he's wanted to be a ball-dominant player. But then I also think that the Warriors can make a few adjustments and use some of the strengths that he brings to the table to be able to facilitate some of the great shooters like Steph Curry and Thompson as well. So I think it'll be they'll be adjusting as they go along. I think it is a good fit, and I think they'll have success. Maybe not win it, but I think they'll have success.
Earlier we had a chat to Matty Knight. He's a 3-time NBL champion. He suffered 15 concussions throughout his 10-year career. Both you guys have, experienced it when there were no protocols in place. What's your thoughts? And we'll start with you, Derek.
I remember having one on the Gold Coast. I bumped into Leroy Combs. Remember him, Hammer?
Yeah.
And the screen in the back court, and I was dazed. Not only did I continue to play, but after the game, they said, here, take some paracetamol and just make sure you don't fall asleep. That was the protocol back in the day. And who knows what damage has been caused to my brain now, Hammer. I mean, we kind of laugh at it, but it is no laughing matter.
I was brought up in the days where my dad would say, give it a hard rub and get on with it. Don't show that you're hurt. You've got to keep playing. Play through the pain. It's the way that we were brought up.
And let's hope Matty gets the help that he needs, and he can see some of the best people in the country, because no one wants. I mean, people just think it's headaches, but it's not headaches. It's emotional stability and all the other things that come with that type of trauma.
All right, 5 highlights from around the world, and we start with the NBA. A big block from the Spurs. I don't know his name. He's going to need a few more of those, and we'll know exactly who he is.
They'll be better, the Spurs.
No doubt about it. But let's get to the EuroLeague. We're over in Turkey now. A little bit of transition. Great pass behind the back. Swadak, if you don't mind.
Sensational. The EuroLeague's on fire, and this one's my personal favourite. Alex Tui, next star. Beautiful spin, dunk. And Andrew Gaze was just as good in the commentaries when he said with the spin move, puts him on the rotisserie.
Well, he needs to pay a few royalties to our man Dwayne Russell, because he's been saying that for years. Get your own lines, Gazy. But have a look at this. Miller with the dunk. We're going to see a few different angles. Have a look at the defender laying on the ground going, my feet are outside the circle. I want to charge. You reckon he got it?
Oh, geez, that's definite charge.
Well, I think they're going to keep it, though, because of the highlight. Geez, what a dunk it was from the NBA. Brandon Miller. What athleticism. Back to the NBL. And now we have a little bit of action over in Adelaide. A little bit of blue sky, finally, for the people in South Australia. What an athletic dunk. Great pass from Trey Cal to Wiley. And that is our Boost Mobile highlights for this week. And you are the guru, mate, but you're currently behind Derek Rucker and myself. Tell us, what's going on?
Had a bit of a slow start. I think being away at the start of the season didn't really help me, but I would have beat you this week had Delhi not got hurt. So don't you worry. I'll be there when it all is said and done.
Okay, I like that. So what are we doing this week, mate? What are the trades? What should everyone be looking at to get their team to the next level?
Yeah, so tougher week this week. Only 3 teams have a double: Adelaide, Melbourne and Southeast Melbourne. So much fewer options in terms of maximising your score. So this week's really about kind of planning for next week and looking at the upcoming schedule, and also trying to accumulate some value. So looking at some players who might increase in price. And one name that seems to be very, very popular right now is Parker Jackson-Cartwright from the New Zealand Breakers. Only has the 1 game this week, but obviously coming back from overseas with the Breakers. But they have a really strong run of doubles 4 of the next 5 weeks, starting in round 5. So he's a very popular trade-in target right now, and will probably make his way into my team this week as well.
Tommy, a pair of big men are back from injury this week, or should be. JLA at United and obviously Alan Williams at Phoenix. Buyers, should they be wary or go all in?
I wouldn't probably bring them in just yet. Certainly not JLA, because he may only play 1 of the 2 games. But there is an impact potentially to Ariel Hook-Porty there from his return once he ramps up. Alan Williams is a more interesting one to me, because all indications are he's raring to go from that Thursday night game straight away. Watch out for the impact he might have on Mitch Creek's rebound totals, but I think he'll ultimately help Mitch Creek take a bit of pressure off him in terms of his need to produce offensively as well. So that's one to keep an eye on.
Another one too for me, Gary Brown, because he's come off his minutes restrictions, starting to get a little bit of form. I think he's going to fire up as well as South East Melbourne start to go well. Any sleepers out there at a lower level that we might be able to get some value?
Well, I think with Delhi's injury on United as well, one guy I kind of like is Shea and I liked him at the start of the season. He's obviously going to play a much bigger role. He's sneaky in terms of those assist and steal totals as well. So he's someone at a lower price that you could potentially look to bring in. And obviously United has doubles this week and next week.
Welcome to the show, Jordan Crawford.
Thanks for having me.
Mate, I want to talk about your size. You're the second smallest player that's come to our league. I love it. You know, you're doing great things. It looks like you use your size as an advantage. Some people look at it and go, oh, well, he's small, he can't do this, this and this. But you do so many other things well. Do you turn it into an advantage?
Yeah, I have to. You know, if I don't turn my size into advantage, then I'm just out there and just floating around. So, you know, I just have to continue to build on that and use my size as the advantage that everybody else doesn't have.
Jordan, talk to us about your relationship with Floyd Mayweather, and I believe there's some photos recently, and yeah, how special is that?
Yeah, that's you know, my uncle, my mentor. You know, he just took me under his wing and tried to talk to me about the mental aspect of, you know, of sports and life in general. Just trying to give me pointers, whether it's on the court or just, you know, being a father or being a friend or whatever the case is. So he's been a huge impact in my life, and I appreciate him.
How often do you talk?
Once or twice a week.
Yeah, okay. And I guess just it ties in beautifully with the JackJumpers, like the way that they play. Like it's almost like boxing, you know, that you get into the trenches and you defend the island, as you said earlier. You must be enjoying that sort of style of play and culture, which has really been built by Scott Roth.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, it actually gives you a chance where you got everybody on the same page of wanting to be grimy and get after guys. And so when you have a whole team like that, it's a bunch of guys that's bought in for to play that style. It just feels good and builds a great culture.
Well, you've been incredible to watch, mate, and you give a whole lot of inspiration, I think, to smaller players everywhere to know that they can do the sort of things that you can do. So well done. Keep up the good work, and thanks for coming on the Basketball Show.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me.
This is a co-production by News Corp Australia and Closer Sports.